What up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, I'm Batman with another reaction. We got analytics just ruined the Celtics, bro. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to the show today. We're talking about advanced stats in the NBA. We're asking the question, do they really matter? Are they actually detrimental to front offices? Do they put too much stock in them? The most recent example of potentially overvaluing advanced stats is with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is a 5-time NBA All-Star. He's coming off an All-NBA season. And 2 years ago, he was the Finals MVP. Not only that, he proved he could lead his team this year. The Boston Celtics ended up being the 2nd seed in the East this year, and they didn't have Jason Tatum. In my head, I think Jaylen Brown is one of the best players in the NBA, and I think he has proven that. But there's a very common belief amongst NBA front offices that he is not. And one of those front offices happened to be...
Why? It's an agenda. That would be the only reason. If this was Luka, if this was anyone else, Finals MVP, did that shit without... Well, they would say Luka's the best player on any team, but... Bruh, did that shit like without LeBron or some shit, 2nd seed the whole year, whatever. But nah, prime LeBron. Nah, it got to be a nigga who rivals Luka. Let's say if he had like Giannis on his team and he did that, he got 2nd seed in the West, and then he's already a Finals MVP, and then he did that shit with Giannis out or some shit. They'll be fucking, man, calling this nigga the GOAT. Fuck up. That shit is annoying. Hold on.
But there's a very... I think Jaylen Brown is one of the best players in the NBA, and I think he has proven that. But there's a very common belief amongst NBA front offices that he is not. And one of those front offices happened to be his old team, the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics have been trying to trade JB for years. They were offering him up when Kevin Durant wanted out of Brooklyn. They were trying to trade him to the Rockets so they wouldn't have to give him his Supermax extension. And he's been in trade talks for Giannis all year. The Boston Celtics always believed their guy was Jason Tatum. They believed Jaylen Brown was just an overvalued asset that they could use. According to ESPN's Bobby Marks, the Celtics front office believed that Jaylen Brown was the 7th best player on the Boston Celtics. There are a lot of people that believe that Jaylen Brown is the 7th best player in the NBA. The Celtics believe this because of their math. They had a scientific calculation that proved Jaylen...
That's crazy. I made my own top 10 like 3 months ago. Cause I had to realize, like, hold on, nigga. This is how you think for yourself, because we gotta learn how to think for ourselves. So I was like, yeah, I gotta do my own top 10. I just thought it would be so hard, but it really ain't. Like, it really isn't that hard. I think I had Shea. I mean, I had my nigga Kyrie. You already know my nigga Kyrie, but I had Shea, Kawhi. Who's number 4? I don't know, but I had him about 6, 7. Jason Tatum, him, they both top 10, you know, so it's either way.
Brown was actually cheeks and incredibly overpaid. So on the surface, Jaylen Brown was a superstar player last year. He scored as many points as Anthony Edwards did. He had more assists, more rebounds than Ant as well. He had more steals than Jamal Murray, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Brunson. If you were looking at the box score every night, you'd really like Jaylen Brown's stats. You'd also notice that the Celtics were winning games too, and that's probably the most important thing. But if you look at Jaylen Brown's shooting percentages, you'll notice something a little alarming. Jaylen Brown only shot 34% from 3 last year. It's not terrible, but it's not good. Of the top 10 scorers last year, he had the 9th best 3-point percentage, only better than Devin Booker. Jaylen Brown also turned last year, he had the 9th. It's not terrible, but it's not good. Of the top 10 scorers,
that's not bad. What the fuck?
Last year, he had the 9th.
Nigga, he ain't a 3-point shooter, but they was 3-point shooters when he had this nigga in the super team in 2024 though. No, all them niggas was Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. The funniest part, all of them niggas, Drew Holiday, Derek White, all you niggas was Curry that year though.
It's not something a little alarming. Jaylen Brown only shot 34% from 3 last year. It's not terrible, but it's not good. Of the top 10 scorers last year, he had the 9th best 3-point percentage, only better than Devin Booker. Jaylen Brown also turned the ball over more than most NBA players. But Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic actually turned the ball over more. If a guy is the focal point of the offense, he's gonna turn the ball over sometimes. You gotta let it go. But the problem is when you look at the advanced stats in regards to turnovers for Jaylen Brown. The one that a lot of people like to use use when they're judging a player's passing ability is assist to turnover ratio. It's just
really don't
your
wanna
assists
watch
divided
these
by
stats,
your
bro.
turnovers. Pretty simple.
It
For
doesn't
example,
matter, man.
Brown's teammate Peyton Pritchard, his was 3.7. In the playoffs, it was
Niggas didn't have the
7.8.
ball more than this man. It don't matter.
Pritchard got guys open way more than he was turning the ball over.
He's a
Jaylen
point
Brown, on the
guard,
other
though,
hand,
right?
last year was 1.4. Jaylen Brown was getting almost as many assists last year as he was turnovers. Passing and dribbling aren't Brown's
that
calling
could be true,
cards
though,
by
like,
any means.
this
But
man
hey,
a
this does
point-
not
I
mean
he took a step. That's the thing. He got better. Like, he was doing shit he wasn't doing. So he was playmaking. He was doing all type of shit he wasn't used to doing, and he still succeeded.
passing and dribbling aren't Brown's calling cards by any means. But hey, this does not mean that Pritchard is a more valuable player than Brown necessarily. The real
gotta see
issue with
all that shit
Jaylen
in
Brown, though, was that the
context, nigga. I
advanced
don't know
stats
about
showed that the Celtics were not better with
know about
Jaylen
that.
Brown on the floor. So Jaylen Brown's net rating last year was 6.5, meaning per 100 possessions last year, the Celtics were scoring 6.5 more points than the other team. Well, that's good, right? The Celtics generally outscored their opponent with Jaylen Brown. Not really, because the Celtics were a good team, and we need to
Yeah, I'm
compare
getting through
Brown
this
to the
video,
rest
I
of
ain't
his
gonna lie. I gotta
teammates. And Brown had the
multitask,
9th
bro.
best net rating on the Celtics. But even worse than that,
I'm not trying to watch this, but I'm just putting out content, bro.
the Celtics were better when Jaylen Brown wasn't on the
What are we
floor.
talking
They were
about,
better
man?
by 6 points
shit
per
don't
100
matter.
possessions last year. And in the first round of the playoff series against the Sixers, the Celtics were scoring 23 more points per 100 possessions with Brown off the court. Which, hey, you know, the Celtics have a really good bench, so it kind of makes sense. Brown was competing against starters, while when bench players came in, they were competing against bench players. But Jaylen Brown missed 11 games last year. And in those 11 games, the Celtics went 9-2. The year before that, without Brown on the court, they went 15-4. And then the year before that, the Celtics went 12-0 without
gonna see
having
next year,
Jaylen
my
Brown.
nigga.
I gotta say, these numbers are
It
downright
also matters who they played. You're not beating nobody without Jaylen Brown. With that, nigga, if you let y'all tell it, they had plumbers on their team last year. So you telling me plumbers is beating the Thunder without Jaylen Brown last year? You weren't beating the Thunder without Jaylen Brown, nigga. Were you? No. You're not. You didn't beat. No, you're not beating no good team without Jason Tatum too. Hell no. So if they had a positive record, nigga, they were playing bots. Like, I don't give a damn.
without Brown on the court,
Period,
they went
man.
15-4. And then the year before that, the Celtics
like the,
went 12-0.
The thing with LeBron, Austin Reeves and Luka, they were this and this before LeBron came back. You forgot Adam Silver cheats for y'all every year, and you play bums. 10 straight teams of just bots. You know? Did you forget about that? Y'all start the year off every year playing bums, the Lakers, right? Did you forget? So
On the court, they went 15-4. And then the year before that, the Celtics went 12-0 without having Jaylen Brown. I gotta say, these numbers are downright incriminating for JB. Before I did the research of this video, I was on Jaylen Brown's side. I thought he was a great player. I thought he was incredibly undervalued. But after doing this video, I kind of see what the Celtics see. Jaylen Brown, on paper, was not a valuable asset when you looked at his output versus the cost of his contract. And that is what we're really talking about here. Jaylen Brown isn't bad, he's just overpaid. A lot of people are wondering, why did the Celtics trade Brown right now? We're months away from the NBA regular season. Why didn't the Celtics wait around and see if they could have got a better deal for Jaylen Brown? They didn't have to even trade him necessarily until the season had started. Why did the Celtics make this trade instead of just waiting around for a better offer? Well, the answer is obvious. Paul George and 2 first-round picks was the best offer. The Celtics had been fielding offers for Jaylen Brown for the last year. The Paul George offer was the best offer that they'd gotten by far, so they bit 2 weeks into the offseason. I hate to say it, but no one had any interest in Jaylen Brown. Let's be honest, Paul George's contract was one of the worst in the NBA. Still is one of the worst in the NBA. We all agreed he was washed. Don't put that on me. We all know he was washed. He was on a max contract. On top of that, he'd been suspended last year for 25 games. The Sixers signing Paul George has been an absolute nightmare. People were saying if the Sixers wanted to even get off of the Paul George contract, they were going to have to give up a first-round pick just to get someone to take him off their hands. And if I'm being honest, I think they did. I think the Celtics only got 1 pick for Jaylen Brown. I think the other first-round pick was just for taking Paul George's contract. We can pretend like Brad Stevens that the Celtics wanted Paul George. But we've been making fun of this guy for the last 2 years. You can't deny it. And now Brad Stevens wants me to believe that the Celtics looked at him and said, oh, we actually think he'd be a good piece on our basketball.
Also, you can't. See, y'all can do all that little extra shit. You can rewrite history. I gotta. It's done. It's like I gotta have this shit like prepared or ready. I wasn't really ready to. I didn't think I was gonna watch a Celtics video today, but it just popped up on my screen. But nigga, no matter how you rewrite history or try to frame it with analytics, nigga, he was a Finals MVP. Finals MVP deserves however much money they want. Period.
Believe that the Celtics looked at him and said, oh, we actually think he'd be a good piece on our basketball team. He'd be an excellent addition. We admire his skill set. No, the Celtics did not care who came back in the trade. Could have been anyone. They just cared that they were getting some picks for Jaylen Brown, and most of all, they were going to save some money. Because this is where we're at in the NBA. Winning teams don't want superstars. Superstars are overpaid, they have giant egos, and they want to get their buckets. Those guys need their stats. Winning teams are looking for bargains. They'll even give up loads of draft picks for a guy on a cheap contract. Look at the Knicks. They gave up 5
teams. That was
first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. People can believe the Knicks gave up that much for Mikal. They gave up more than the Suns did for KD. They gave up more than the Mavs did for Kyrie. They gave up as much as the Clippers did for Paul George. Luka only returned more than the Mavs did for Kyrie.
What?
They gave up that much for Mikal. They gave up more than the Suns did for KD. They gave up more than...
Nigga, because... Bro, you gotta look at context, because niggas were trying my nigga Kyrie, you know... I think, yeah, the Nets and him wasn't on the same page, obviously, and they just, it's like, well, kind of with the Josh shit, they disrespected him and just, you know, basically got fleeced, because it's just like, he obviously didn't send him where he wanted to go either, but it's just, it's kind of to disrespect you and kind of it sets your team back, but it's like just to disrespect you for real, like, nigga, we got rid of you for Spencer Dinwiddie, I think, and Dorian Finney-Smith. I think, or was it that? But really, it just y'all the ones that look dumb. So
people can believe the Knicks gave up that much for Mikal. They gave up more than the Suns did for KD. They gave up more than the Mavs did for Kyrie. They gave up as much as the Clippers did for Paul George. Luka only returned 1 first-round pick. The Knicks gave up 5 first-round picks for a third.
I mean, but to be honest, the Lakers only had 2 first-round picks to give, but. Yeah. 4th
scoring option in Mikal Bridges. But this was actually a good trade because Mikal Bridges was on a cheap contract. He was a 3-and-D player. He was never going to be a superstar. But he was what the Knicks needed. So the Knicks got a cheap player that allowed them enough room to get Karl-Anthony Towns. Mikal also already had a relationship with the guys on the team. They also knew Mikal wasn't going to get injured. Mikal still has not missed a game in his NBA career. So when a team gives up a lot of first-round picks for a guy who doesn't have a signature shoe, probably means the player is good and he's underpaid.
You talking about them picks?
Yes, sir!
I didn't really know how to work that in there, but I felt like that clip needed to be in there. Now, we need to talk about win shares in the NBA. Win shares are a way that people try to divvy up how many wins a player is actually responsible for. Like how much an individual actually contributed to the team's wins. Supposedly, if you take all the win shares from an entire...
That shit was so fucking lucky. I remember this.
...contributed to the team's wins.
Lucky ass, man.
Supposedly, if you take all the win shares from an entire roster, you get the total win total for the team. Listen, if you hate advanced stats,
shit was luck, man.
So you're gonna hate win shares. But NBA front offices believe that win share stats are more important than watching game tape itself. So the player with the most win shares last year was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 15.2. Checks out. Shai's good. Wins games. Meaning if Shai wouldn't have been on the Thunder last year, instead of winning 64 games, the Thunder would have won 49 games. But here lies the reason.
Okay. I probably can get with that. That makes, because they still would have been straight, but okay. That could be true right there.
Brown was traded from the Boston Celtics. The Celtics believe that win shares are the end-all be-all when it comes to evaluating a player's talent. And it turns out...
But my thing is, why are we acting like you would have won all these games without him? What are we talking about? You were tanking. You knew you had plumbers, nigga. If y'all tell it, y'all had plumbers. He made y'all look like a contender.
Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, and even Nehemiah Keita were responsible for more of the Celtics wins than Jaylen Brown. Hey, I'm just reporting the news. So I actually don't think it matters how well Jaylen Brown performs on the Sixers next year. The real question is, are the Celtics going to decline next year? Because if the Celtics end up sucking and the only differentiating factor is the fact that Jaylen Brown is not on the team anymore, we're gonna know that these advanced stats are BS. They're just a bunch of math symbols and equations created by nerds so they can evaluate talent without actually watching a basketball game. I really don't know what's gonna happen, but you know, I kind of lean on the side of the nerds. I don't know why. But
because you haven't played before.
I really don't know what's gonna happen, but you know, I kind of lean on the side of the nerds.
You do know.
I don't know why, but I also do believe.
I wonder
that
why I
Jaylen
don't.
Brown is a top 10 player in the NBA. But what's funny to me
wonder
is
why
if
I
a
don't.
team really believed in advanced stats, they would have offered Jalen Duren a max contract by now. He had the 6th best player impact estimate in the NBA last year, meaning allegedly he's the 6th most impactful.
We seen it with our eyes. What the hell was going on? And nada, nigga. You're not whatever that just said.
Player in the NBA. But free agency has opened a couple weeks ago, and it's been crickets in terms of max contract offers for Jalen Duren. Also, Alperen Sengun and Chet Holmgren sort of finished their seasons this year as laughing stock.
This nigga was fucking DPOY, damn near. What? Even though that's not stats, but this shit don't matter, man. Period. I'm pretty sure you had a crazy defensive rating, right? And what? Get off the court, even though I wanted y'all to win, bro. But
Alperen Sengun and Chet Holmgren sort of finished their seasons this year as laughing stocks. Both guys were getting called frauds, and their stock, I think right now, is at an all-time low. If a team is smart and they believe in advanced stats, they're gonna make a play to get one of these guys. Right now is the time to trade for Chet Holmgren or Alperen Sengun. Chet has one of the best true shooting percentages in the NBA, and he actually shoots threes. He's not one of these fake stretch fives that takes 1 3-pointer a game. All advanced stats point to Chet being one of the most impactful players in the game right now when it comes to actually winning.
What happened
in game? But right now, no one can get the image of Wemby dunking on him out of their head. Sengun is truly the only other passing big man besides Jokic. He also has one of the highest player efficiency ratings in the NBA, and his box plus minus is really good, so you know his stats are not empty. Both of these guys are on rookie max extensions.
Did
so
you
they're
just
not
lie
even
like that? You tried Cat like that?
Actually,
I mean, I didn't know Cat was living like that either with the pass and just everything he could do until recently, but stop it, bro. He just showed you what he can do.
Winning game. But right now, no one can get the image of Wemby dunking on him out of their heads.
Cat literally they was talking about he was a finals MVP for a second.
Sengun is truly the only other passing big man besides Jokic. He also has one of the highest player efficiency ratings in the NBA. And his box plus minus is really good, so you know his stats are not empty. Both of these guys are on rookie max extensions.
That's why they said they was open to trading him, right? But they said man was untouchable.
So they're not even as expensive as a lot of these veteran players are. Their contracts are worth 25% of the salary cap, where a guy like Jaylen Brown is
he can't be the center, bro. Just like Jokic can't be the center. Like, it's just, that can't happen.
35. So the fact of the matter is, even though fans are super pissed at these guys
you probably gonna have to have some crazy like defense around them. You have to have some like Luka stuff with how Nico did it. But he's at least a point guard or a forward, like. He ain't protecting the rim, but
their end of the season disappointments. The front offices probably know that despite the disappointing playoffs they had, they're both incredibly important to their teams, and the front office probably doesn't have any interest in trading them. All right, thank you for being here, and thank you.
All right, man, y'all let me know what y'all think, bro. I'm out, man. No cap.